All right, and we are live. Welcome back to Beyond the Campfire. It is the holy month of October for for spooky podcasters like ourselves, and so we are continuing right along with a ghost story. Will, do you
Yeah.
want to this?
Yeah, so it's a ghost story. I don't think it's a cryptid technically. It's a urban legend. So this is kind of like actually our first urban legend. So that's the kind of the cool thing about this, guys, is as we're getting older, we're changing, right? Like a butterfly. So we started off with cults, cryptids, conspiracies, and mysteries. We dropped cults. We added ghost stories. Now we're gonna start adding in some urban legends.
Let's do it.
So today we are talking about La Llorona, otherwise known as the Weeping Woman. Right? Really spooky.
Yeah,
Um,
don't make women cry, Will.
I,
Wife.
it's not my fault, man. Okay.
Yeah,
So I was fixing to make a bad joke, but we're not gonna go there. I'm gonna continue.
but no, some people make women cry, and then other people cry over women.
Yes, Steve.
I, all right, I digress. I digress.
Anyways, so this is a legend that is told in Latin America and the US where there are many different kind of versions. It just depends on who you ask because I mean it's all around the same kind of story, but there's two different things of who she is. Some say she's a ghost, while others say she's like an immortal wanderer who kind of just like wanders around. Um, the cool thing is I kind of wrote down real quick because I found a website about Mexican history because that's kind of where it originated from. And there's a really long version. And if you want to, you can go read about it. You can kind of do some research. There's a lot like her story is pretty in depth, but the vast majority, I mean, because there's one story, here's a story. There's so many stories about La Llorona. They all agree on one, like on the certain thing of who she is, and most of the stories have a lot of similarities, and that's that she was a native who fell in love with a like rich Spaniard, which back during the time of her, of this time of this story, that was kind of unheard of because you had like a Spaniard from Spain and then a native of, the area. And so she was said to have fallen in love with him. Okay. They had a relationship, a very secret relationship. Some stories talk about it was like kind of like I said, it was frowned upon. So they kind of kept a little hush hush secret, but somehow they ended up having 3 children. And then this is where the story can kind of divert. Some accounts I saw was he fell out of love with the woman and decided to go after someone else. Other stories say because of them being secret, she wanted to marry him, and he's like, "We can't be doing this, man. We can't be mixing. This ain't right." And either way, no matter what happens, whether it's him cheating on her, leaving her, not actually loving her, that kind of thing, she gets so upset by this. She takes her 3 kids. She had 3, and she took them to the river, hugged them because she wanted them to know that she loved them, and she drowned her children.
Wow,
And yeah,
uh, quite the way to show your love to your
I
kid.
know we're only 3 minutes in this, and it's already going downhill.
Uh, Pause. I've heard of sneaky links, but he had 3 children with this woman. That's a sneaky family. How do you hide 3 pregnancies? That's kind of wild.
Well, I feel like there's like dudes out there that like are married to one woman, have kids with her, and then they've got like a secret family in like Wisconsin,
I guess I don't know.
or somewhere else. Like so, while this story could be true, could not be true, there is, according to the website I looked at, there is actually a true story. Okay, kind of what we can piece together, and that is so. According to there's a Mexican historian named Efrain Franco Frias, who stated at the time of the colony, the story kind of began to gain strength by then. Um, and the exact kind of origin story we have is um, so the story began gaining traction because of this historian who stated that there's this story at the time of a woman by the name of Malinche, and she became a lover of none other than guess who?
I don't know. Pablo Escobar.
No, no, no. It's our homeboy, our Spaniard homeboy,
Spaniard. Who? We have.
Hernan Cortez.
Huh?
Hernan Cortez. You know the
Oh,
Conquistador Cortez?
yeah. I know who he is. How is he our homeboy though?
Well, because it wasn't like Catholic and he's a Christian and he wanted to go spread the religion to the natives.
Oh, I mean, I guess he did a few awful things though. So I don't know if I'd call him my homeboy. Okay. Anyway.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, my cord fell out of my microphone.
Yeah, you went out a little bit. I could still hear you. You were just quieter.
Oh, okay. Well, now you can hear me probably better.
Yeah.
So the name Malinche that they gave her kind of means traitor because Cortez and her had a family. They had one son. She didn't drown him in a river. He actually went back to Spain with his dad. So, most dads just go get
Wow.
milk and then never come back. Well, he said, son, come with me. We're going to go get milk. And then they never came back.
Interesting. So this was a whole conspiracy.
Yep. So she, among the Aztec people, this represents kind of motherhood, but one of gloomy motherhood, becoming a symbol of mistreatment and degrading parenting after giving her son to Cortez, never to see him again.
Yeah, sure sounds like it.
So either way, La Llorona is kind of seen throughout Mexico. Okay. She is said to be dressed in white with black hair. Okay. So long black hair. And some say that she kind of sings like a siren. And others say that whenever she kind of turns to you, she has like almost a skull. Wait a second. I take that back. She does not sing. Some say she looks like a siren where she's all beautiful looking and you kind of want to go towards her. Some say that she actually has more of a skull faced appearance to where some of the stories I think we actually read about, she had no face.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah. So pretty spooky. Now, it is stated that people who hear her cry, so she'll be crying, like you'll be walking the river and you can hear this woman crying. Yeah, either way, like, see, told you, skinwalker level type creep.
Right.
They say that if you hear her cry, it could either mean misfortune or you're fixing to die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so not great options either way.
Yeah. So, but if you hear these wails and you're a child, they're just a meaning that you need to get home because it's getting too dark. Like our parents said, when those street lights turn on, you better be home. In Mexico, they say if you hear La Llorona screaming, you better get on home.
Man, should I? If I look her up right now, would I be terrified?
You might a little bit. You might find her attractive, though. I don't know.
Maybe me and my cryptid lover.
And then the other thing that she does is that some say that when they see her by the water, they'll try to save her from drowning, and then for some reason those people are found dead like the next morning, and it's because they drowned.
Oh,
pretty spooky.
Drowned her kids, so I don't think she's going to take too kindly to dudes that are trying to save her. So
I know, right? Now she is mentioned. There's a lot of popular stories that she's in, like a lot of TV shows talk about her. But one that I actually know about is and you might know the TV show Supernatural.
Yep.
She was in the pilot episode.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of took some inspiration from her in the pilot episode. So I'm actually probably going to go watch that after this because I plan to rewatch Supernatural anyways with my son.
Late at night?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? I like the spook.
Don't get spooked out.
Listen, I can watch horror movies. All right, so I've got three encounters of La Llorona. Two are from, like, obviously Reddit. When you look up La Llorona stories, I found this page on Reddit called r/paranormal, and I've got an encounter from this person named Della Curls, and then another guy by the name of Priest 2789, and then once again, because I've actually been having a lot of fun with ChatGPT writing us stories about us encountering these things.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm waiting for when we actually encounter these things, and it's kind of like, is that really how it went?
Oh man.
So the first story I have is by Della Curls on Reddit. Okay, so buckle in. It's gonna get spooky. Spooky.
Boy, I better lock in.
I know. All right. So this story has been told to me by my mom a few times, and every single time I still get that creepy, eerie feeling that someone is watching me. My mom is from a small town in Mexico located in, I'm going to butcher these names, Zacatecas. When she was around 14, she had the habit of waking her mom up to go to the restroom since it was an older home and the restroom was located outside. So kind of like here in the US with an outhouse, right? Um, my mom tells me that it was around 3 a.m. when she woke up and felt the need to use the restroom urgently. So she began calling out for her mom. She's like, "Hey, come here. I need to go to the bathroom. Walk with me. I'm scared," or something. After a while of her mom not responding, she began getting agitated and started screaming. At this point, my mom turns around and at the foot of her bed, she sees her mom standing there. She was wearing a white robe, but had a very bleak expression on her face, and both of her arms were extended. Um, my mom said that she suddenly felt extremely cold and a huge sense of dread. She had never seen her mom wear a white robe. That's when she looked down and saw her mom's feet weren't touching the floor. At that moment, she screamed and quickly threw the covers over her head. Her mom, wearing something completely different, okay, than the white robe, runs in to find my mom shaking in her bed. Nobody believed my mom. Everyone told her it was a dream. Until a few days later, there was a power outage. During this, my mom and a few of her siblings, with their parents, all decided to sleep in the living room. At around the same time at 3 a.m., they heard the same undeniable wails of La Llorona down their street, and none of them slept that night. Yeah.
My, that just ugh, gives me chills.
Imagine seeing,
Think
like,
about
imagine
it.
waking up
Huh?
and you're like, imagine waking up and be like, Mom, Mom, Mommy, Mom. And then you finally see her and it looks like your mom, but it's wearing a white robe and it's floating, just floating. And it just gives you this feeling of like eeriness and dread,
See,
and then you get so scared.
I think that bothers me so much because I mean, I know you love your mom too, but like I love my mom, and just like the thought of, oh, I think I'm about to see the woman that raised me and cared for me, and said, no, it's the ghostly La. How do you even say her name again?
Llorona. So it's like,
La Rona or whatever. Yeah, I
mhm.
mean that's a terrifying thought. That is a
Ugh.
terrifying thought for sure. So
I think what makes it even creepier about La Llorona, that just makes her a little bit more terrifying, is a lot of the stories talk about hearing her singing or her cries. So all I could imagine is like, imagine like there's power outage, you're all kind of all huddled up. Luckily, you got people around you, so you're not too scared. But imagine all of you just sitting there, and all of a sudden you hear, "Ah, ah," like a scream or like a woman screaming or crying down the street, and you're like, "Oh, hold up, huh, wait a minute." Um, I did want to point this out because talking about like hearing her go down the street, there were some stories I saw where people were talking about like one thing about La Llorona, and I don't. Again, there's so many different versions of her, um, but these people were talking about how some versions of the story I saw stated she would kind of come down the street and would float up to houses, and if there's no way for her to get in, like a locked door or all the windows were closed, she would kind of cry and then kind of float on to the next house. So I don't know what she'd do if she found an unlocked door. Maybe go get herself a free meal, free tacos. I don't know.
did you just make a race joke?
No,
For once, it's not me bringing it in. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, I could go for a taco.
I could too.
Maybe go for a taco with La Lorena. Okay, all right. Enough joke. Enough joke.
All right.
I
So this next story comes from Priest 2789. Okay.
okay.
All right. So it says, we stayed out at the creek one night, myself and a paranormal group I used to hunt with. So you already know this is going to be good because you got a paranormal group. While we were out, we kept hearing someone crying and mumbling something. We could not make it out. We called out and it would stop for a minute or so as if it were trying to listen to us and see where we were. And then it would start up again. Nothing happened most of the night. As we stopped to take a break, we all sat in the bed of the truck looking out towards the creek. When it started to sprinkle and the crying started back up. In the distance, we see someone walking. We think it's the owner of the land whom gave us access so we could experience it ourselves. While whomever was floating so gently along the creek stood and reached out to us as if it were offering its hand to help us. For sure, we thought it was old man Jesse, who is the landowner. As it got closer, it started to cross the creek. So we turned on the spotlight and seeing it was a woman, just not, um, just not in white. She wore a dirty, stained silk dress. When we called to her, she looked at us and reached out and started crying loud and breathing heavily. Team lead started the truck and started to drive off. When we looked back, sorry, team lead started the truck and started to drive off. When we looked back, she was moving faster than before, getting closer. As we got close to the gate, she stopped and stood there. She stood there and watched us as if she was running us off or away from the creek. We called old man and told him we were done and leaving as he laughed at us, asking if we had seen the woman. When I explained to him what had happened, he said that she was trying to have us follow her back into the wooded area near the deep part of the creek.
Golly, this is one creepy moment for sure. So,
Oh yeah. So what would you do in that situation if you saw a woman kind of standing there, crying out to you, and she's like, crying. Obviously, she's not talking to you because
well,
she's kind of like,
at first, I feel sympathetic. I'm just like, oh gosh, this is some woman that needs some help, and then as you get closer, you're like, oh, this is not a lady. This isn't a future wife over here. This
right.
is a demon ghost that's possibly gonna drown me in a river.
Yeah.
So
This isn't a Proverbs 34 woman.
probably, yeah, this is a Proverbs 7 woman. No, just kidding.
Is which one? Which one is it that she put the tent stake through the guy?
Oh, that's a jail. Jael. Yeah,
Yeah.
she
So she's not a Proverbs 30 kind of woman. She's a
look at Joshua, but I could be wrong.
she's a Joshua woman
Judges.
or a judge
Oh
woman.
no, I was wrong. Yeah, it is Judges.
Hmm. So not a
Chapter.
Proverbs woman. She's a judge's woman.
Yep, Judges chapter 4 or Judges 5, depending on
Look at
view.
that. All right. So for those of you who don't know, Steve and I, we went out to look for La Llorona, and this is our story. Totally not from Chat GBT. And by the way, so when I was creating this, because I'm going to tell you guys right now, I actually kind of like this because it kind of comes up with some funny things, especially based off the things I told it to do. Like for example, it kept like, it's funny because it'll say it in here. But I was sitting there and like I asked it to type out the story, and like growing up, I never really heard anything about La Llorona. Like maybe, if you're in a Hispanic family, you might have heard about it. So I had to tell ChatGPT, I'm not Hispanic. Stop making it sound like I've heard this before. So it changed it, and it's actually kind of funny.
Okay.
All right.
When you tell ChatGPT to make a story, do you just put Will and Steven as names, or does it have some details about us?
It remember like because ChatGPT has memory.
Okay.
So knows our names are Will and Steven, and that's about it. So like when I write the story, of course with this one, I had to kind of go in a little bit more detail, and I was like, first off, like, I'm not Hispanic. And then it was trying to make it sound like you were the more like believer of this stuff, whereas like I wasn't. And I was like, hold up, you need to swap that, bud. So it took a little bit of work, but I got it, and it's pretty funny because I actually added in some prompts I wanted it to do, and it's really funny. So here we go. Will and Steven versus La Llorona. All right. So first off, yeah, I believe in this stuff. By the way, I should clarify that this is told from my point of view. Okay. Always have. Steven, on the other hand, doesn't. He's all about facts and evidence. Like he needs a ghost to fill out a survey or something before he'll take it seriously. Anyway, we're doing this episode on La Llorona, the weeping woman who cries for her lost children along rivers. Classic spooky legend. I've heard it all my life, even though I'm not Mexican. But Steven, he's just along for the ride. rolling his eyes like we're heading to some tourist trap. We head to this old river spot near Santa Fe where locals swear La Llorona's been seen. It's getting dark because, of course, we've timed this perfectly to get maximum creepy vibes. The air was starting to feel heavy, thick even, and for once, Stephen wasn't cracking jokes. That was a red flag in itself. We made it to the riverbank, and it's quiet. Too quiet. You know, that feeling when everything goes still and it's like even the trees are holding their breath. Yeah, that kind of quiet. The only sound was the water lapping at the shore until we heard something else. A cry. It started faint, like a whisper, carried on the wind, but it got louder. It was a woman's voice, sobbing, and it didn't sound right. Not like someone who just had a bad day, more like raw, soul crushing sorrow. Steven shot me a look, but for once, he didn't say anything. I think he was finally starting to get it. We followed the sound, moving closer to the water, and that's when we saw her. A woman, draped in white, standing at the edge of the river. Her long black hair was blowing in the wind, and she was bent over, weeping into her hands. My gut told me this was it. La Llorona. Stephen, still quiet, which was saying something. And this is where it gets funny, but serious. I whispered, "What do you think, man? You could probably date her."
You added that in there. There's
No,
no.
I didn't. I told ChatGPT to make it where we're joking about you dating La Llorona.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So,
He glared at me, not amused. Not my type, he muttered, but I could tell he wasn't really focused on the joke. We both knew this wasn't something you messed around with. Suddenly, the woman stopped crying. She turned slowly, and that's when we saw her face, or rather, the lack of one. There was no eyes, no mouth, just a blank, hollow space where her features should have been. And in an instant, she went from tragic to terrifying. Then she screamed. And I don't mean a normal scream. This was a sound that went straight through your bones. The kind of noise that makes you want to curl up and forget the world exists. Without even thinking, she rushed towards us, floating over the ground like she was on a mission. I didn't have to tell Stephen twice. We both turned and bolted. I'm pretty sure I've never ran so fast in my life. I don't know if I was more scared of La Llorona catching me or Stephen blaming me if she did. When we finally made it back to the car, we were panting, gasping for air. Stephen just stood there, staring at the ground, completely rattled. The skeptic in him was still working overtime, trying to process what just happened. And of course, it gets funnier. I slapped him on the back, trying to lighten the mood. Come on, she wasn't that bad, right? You could have at least asked for her phone number. Stephen didn't even smile. He just shook his head and said, "I don't think she's available." That was the moment I knew. No matter what he said later, he believed. Maybe not in ghosts, but he believed in whatever we just seen. And now he'll probably think twice the next time I suggest chasing down a legend. But me, I'm ready for the next one. La Llorona's real, folks. And trust me, if you hear her cry, don't stick around to be her next date. Run.
okay, I gotta give it to Chat GPT. It's pretty funny with some of the things it makes up.
Well,
So
yeah, because I was like, put in a joke that like Steven and I'm joking with Steven about asking her out. And it's like, come on, man. At least you could no one's asked for her phone number. And you're like, not my type, man. Not my type.
my type.
Because like that's the thing is like I feel like if me and you actually go look for La Llorona or any of these cryptids or any of these ghosts that are like women, like and we actually see it, I'm just gonna be like, all right, dude,
You'll have the joke preset.
player gotta play, right? Shoot your shot. We could be like on the verge of dying. Like this thing could come at us trying to kill us. And I'm like, just ask her for her number, Steven. As like we're running away.
Dude, one day, like I'm gonna if I actually find somebody and then we like get married and she's like, looking back at the podcast episode, she's gonna be like, "What the heck are these dudes talking about?"
I know. Well, what's funny is it depending because obviously we want to do this long term.
Right.
So there could be like hundreds of episodes that she just sits back and watches, and it's all like Steven dating the not deer, Steven going after La Llorona, Steven going after this ghost woman, this ghost woman. Like we just joke about Steven's love life the whole time, trying to hook him up with cryptids and ghosts. And his wife is just like,
What the heck?
she's like, what the heck? And like, God forbid I'm your best man and I give the speech. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I'm surprised he went after a human.
Right. Oh man, remind me not
Hey.
to invite you to my wedding. I'm just kidding.
I'll be like, all right, at least you got a pulse. Proud of you, man.
Oh, man. Well, that is quite the creepy. You know what? I'm in a dark room at 15 minutes past midnight, and I just heard 3 ghost stories about a woman without a face who drowns her children.
She's going down you.
That is not. This is not the position I wanted to be in. But you know what?
You don't live near a creek, do you?
There's a creek in the backyard of my house.
All right, then. Good luck, Steve.
Well, guess I'm not sleeping tonight. So, anyway, Bill, it was nice knowing you. I'm just kidding.
You're gonna like wake up at like 3 a.m. and there she's gonna be standing at the foot of your bed, and you're gonna be like, "So, what's your hobbies?
You like jazz?
You like jazz?" And then she's just like, "Ah!"
Hey, man.
Oh man.
Joke's on you. Watch me and her be dating tomorrow by this. No, just kidding.
This is why you get bullied by Haley and why we keep running with these jokes, because see, the thing is like if Steven is like, guys, stop it, it's not funny, like stop making jokes about my love life, we'd stop. But Steven just goes with it and he's like, yeah, man, watch it, we'll be dating tomorrow. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and there's gonna be like an Instagram post and like I'm gonna look at Steven's thing and it's gonna say I have like 10/12/2024 with like a little heart beside it, and he's gonna post on his Instagram story, me and Bay, and it's like this woman that's not even standing on the ground, she's just floating, so she's like a little bit taller than him.
That type of specific Instagram post you said.
Dude, that's what we should do. Oh my gosh, that's what we should do next week to promote this. If you guys don't know, we're recording this in advance, but that's what we should do to promote this episode is like Photoshop a picture of La Llorona standing next to you, and it's like me and Bay.
Oh man.
We'll
see if that does anything.
Oh boy. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Next week we got a normal episode, and then the cool thing is, after next week's episode, you get 2 in 1 week. Because we got the Halloween special.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I've still got to contact our people about that to figure out where we're going.
Yeah, let us know, man. I'll be in town soon.
Yeah.
Did we ever tell the s'mores about what happened to the barn?
I think we did. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we don't have the barn anymore, so...
We should film, like, we should take a picture of me and you sitting in the barn. All right, we're ready for our next episode. And, like, everything's just falling apart around us.
We have that like next to the picture of the dog sitting in the burning house. And it's saying, this is fine. And it's us. We're just in the rubble of the barn and we're saying...
It's like, everybody's like, it's like, you know, the barn it's a symbol, okay? The barn is like, the whole world is just falling apart, right? Everything's just going to hell. Hey, but guess what?
Long live barn.
But long live barn. But here's the cool thing is the barn is the world. Me and you are people listening to the podcast. So the whole world can be going to hell, but you're having fun listening to Beyond the Campfire. And it just don't matter. You're sitting in a rubble barn, but it don't matter because you're having fun.
I'm going to take your word for that. So,
hey, wise words.
Wise words. All right. Well, I think that will do it. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. We are on TikTok, Instagram. You can follow us at Beyond Campfire or Beyond the Campfire podcast. Just search us up on X, formerly known as Twitter. Instagram, YouTube, all that. And yeah, thank you for tuning in, S'mores. Hope to see you next time.
Yeah, go listen to some jazz. All right, find you a Latino baddie that floats. Well, I'll float down here, Georgie.